Hello folks, John Mahler here, back again with encouraging world news. As some of you have no doubt heard, there was a fire in the Flamanville nuclear power station near Cherbourg, France. The fire was in a turbine hall outside the nuclear zone of the power plant, and there is no risk of any breach in containment or nuclear contamination of the surrounding area, which is really good news. But it's not really the encouraging bit that I want to point out to you. You see, remember the huge earthquake in Japan and how they had real trouble with their power plant there too? Well, there was no nuclear breach, no contamination of the surrounding area. And there are other nuclear power plants that have problems and have not had any nuclear breach or contamination of the surrounding area. So we live in a world where nuclear power plants can get hit with earthquakes and fires and all sorts of things without breaching containment, without contaminating the areas around them. Think about that. We live in a world where nuclear power plants are that safe. We can put a nuclear power plant on fire and not endanger anybody outside. I believe several people were injured in the fire. As far as I'm aware, no one was killed, which is good. And prayers for the injured that they recover swiftly. U.S. airstrikes in Syria have killed another prominent ISIS leader. Gosh, U.S. airstrikes, they get so many of them. Will anyone ever find a cure for this dread plague? Sarcasm. Speaking of ISIS, 4 ISIS operatives have been arrested in Turkey with an awful lot of explosives and weapons before they were able to do anything with them. Cool. So, at this rate, how many ISIS operatives do you think there can be left? Well, I'm sure there are a lot because there are a lot to begin with, and there are a lot of people out there who are quite willing to join ISIS. But they are being ground down into the dust. And if that's not encouraging, I don't know what is. Well, that's all I have for you for today, folks. That's all I have for you today. Encouraging news. A little personal, a little political. So, as I'm sure at least some of you have heard, President Donald Trump recently tried to block people from entering the U.S. from certain countries. And this set off a huge amount of really upsetness across the world. And one part of the executive order, the only part I'm going to talk about right now, one part of the executive order made an exception for people belonging to certain religious and ethnic groups who are being targeted by people who, like ISIS, who do horrible things. For example, the Yazidi people, who are being massacred and enslaved. Iraqi Christians, who are being massacred and enslaved. And this was one of the major parts of the executive order that a lot of people were railing on about. Because this was unfair to Muslims. And no, this is not okay. This is not okay. Huge crowds in the streets protesting this now, saying that Yazidis, for example, should not have an exception. Yazidis who have been massacred and enslaved for years, and the people who are now protesting this have said not word one about it. This is wrong. No, you cannot do this. Well, clearly you can do this. You should not do this. because this is morally wrong. People who are being targeted to be massacred and enslaved should have exceptions made for them. At least when it comes to being allowed out of the places where they're being massacred and enslaved. This is important. So, I'm not saying that I support preventing people from certain countries entering the United States of America. I'm not saying it's right. I am saying that there are people, I don't want to use political terms, but liberals who have been absolutely silent about people being massacred, literally massacred, huge beheading parties, and enslaved. Like something out of some BDSM pornography. Whole villages of women and girls being carried off and sold as sex slaves. And liberals have said not word one about it. And now, these same liberals are saying that these people do not need any consideration. These people should not be allowed into America. If Muslims who are, I'm not saying that ISIS doesn't target Muslims, but ISIS does not target Muslims anywhere near as much as they target Yazidis, or Christians, or Assyrians, or any number of other people who are given exceptions in this order. So if you care about poor minorities who are being discriminated against, then how can you do this? Because you're hypocrites. That's why. You know, if ISIS was doing microaggressions against them, maybe then liberals would view it differently. And that's it. That's my rant. I've had my say. Sorry. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. And as always, have a nice day.